Up next, we have Laura Mugeha from YouthMappers. She's going to be giving a lightning talk on OSM Contribution 101, how to contribute to OpenStreetMap beyond mapping. So please, Laura, take it away.
Just a minute as I share my screen. Okay, yeah. So yeah, my name is Laura Mugeha. I am a YouthMappers Regional Ambassador based in Nairobi, but I'm working across Kenya and Tanzania. And I also volunteer with the local OSM community in Kenya. So today I wanted to share on different ways that you can contribute to OpenStreetMap beyond mapping. But first I'd start by saying that all the efforts that everyone is putting in by directly mapping on OSM, as simple as adding buildings and roads. That's very important. The purpose of this presentation was just to share different ways for maybe someone who has more time to contribute more to the OSM community, or someone who's exploring different ways of contributing to OSM beyond mapping directly on OSM, either if it's working on specific projects or in any other way. So the first way I wanted to highlight also gaps that I think that are existing currently with OpenStreetMap data that we have. So on mapping, I think one way that people could start contributing to OSM is by adding more attributes. So adding local information on the status of buildings, their names, the sort of services that they offer. So a good example would be a mapping project that we are currently doing in Nairobi, where we are not only adding health facilities locations, but we are also adding information on services offered. So things like maternal health and such things. And I think the importance of adding more attributes to data other than just having the X and Y's is that we are also sort of producing analysis ready data so that when someone extracts OSM data, they do not have to start merging the X and Y's from OSM with other databases. So I think this is one way that people could look into if in your area it's not something that's being done. So and the different ways that one can do is by conducting field data collection, using the various apps that we have, so things like ODK, Cover Toolbox, and the rest, and also by using Mapillary to capture street level imagery, and then being able to add points of interest and more attributes. The other way would be through data validation. I think there's still also a gap that exists in terms of data validation. On the hot tasking manager, you'd find a lot of projects that have been mapped, but most have not been validated, or the validation process takes a while. So it's just also to say, just the same way that we have all learned how to map, how to add a building and a road, we could also learn on how to conduct data validation so that we can have a larger pool of validators to help fully complete projects. And also the other way is also maintaining the quality of data that's being added to OSM. And I also just listed a few quality assurance tools that also people could explore and learn about. So to sort of also monitor that quality, either if it's at a local level or at a regional level. Then the third way is by development. So OpenStreetMap is not only an open data platform, but it's also open source, meaning all the software that you're using is developed openly. So, and also all the tools that support OpenStreetMap as it is, and that includes OSM editors like the ID editor, JOSM, and there are even more tools that are listed in the wiki link that have included there. The first thing to do if you're not yet there is to join the mailing lists. There's an OSM mailing list for developers, and then you can also have a look at the GitHub repositories. And by contributing, one does not have to necessarily know how to code. You can also participate by contributing to documentation. And I also just wanted to highlight as well, in as much as this is OSM focused, also for the hot community, there's the hot OSM tech team. I think you could also participate in that by also sharing ideas that you have, functionalities that you think should be included, and also volunteering your development skills. Then the other way is through OSM communities. So you can start by joining an existing OSM community if there's one in your area. But if there's no OSM community, you can as well create one. It can be institution specific, so it can be for your organization. You can start having, say, weekly meetups or monthly meetups or such things. But you can also create a regional community if you wish to. And there are two ways that I think one could participate. So you can either support community activities, so by mapping local projects and also attending the events that are organized by the communities, talking and presenting at those events as well. And you could also volunteer to help coordinate those activities, so planning for those meetups and mapathons. For each of these to happen, if it's a physical meetup, there's a need for a venue, there's a need for internet. There are a lot of logistics that have to be catered for. So there's always, this community is always in need of volunteers to help out. So if there's an existing community, you could join and offer to volunteer as well.
Laura, we have 1 minute
the
left.
second last
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just completely. The second last way is through working groups. So first you can join the OSMF and vote on the different issues that affect the foundation, and you can also run for the board. And yeah, that's also a list of all the working groups that are under the OSMF. You could join one that you feel you could actively participate in, but you could also just join a working group to learn from it and see what's going on. But I also wanted to share that there are also committees, for example, the Diversity and Inclusion Special Committee that was created earlier this year, same to the Microgrants Committee. Then,
thank you so much, Laura. I'm so sorry to cut you off, but just because the lighting talks are going to be very small, I really want to keep with the agenda. I'm really, really sorry. It was such a great overview of the different ways in which we can engage with OpenStreetMap. I really appreciate your talk. In case there's any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. Right next, we